Hey there, fight fans. In today's video, the new UFC champion Dricus du Plessis fears a fight with Khamzat Chimaev. In a quest to avoid a showdown with Chimaev, du Plessis has gone to great lengths, even expressing his willingness to step into the Octagon with none other than Conor McGregor. Now, not stopping there, he is also prepared to take on Alex Pereira, who has made it clear that he is ready to return to the middleweight division just for a shot at du Plessis. Furthermore, Paulo Costa has thrown his hat into the ring, announcing his intention to challenge du Plessis, but there is one name that is conspicuously missing from that list: Khamzat Chimaev. Du Plessis has no interest in facing Chimaev.
I don't want to fight contenders that doesn't make sense.
And that's not all we have for you in this video. Stay tuned to discover why Sean Strickland believes he suffered defeat at the hands of the South African fighter. Now, some fans have an intriguing theory. The infamous Drake's curse might be the real culprit behind it all. So let's dive into these stories one by one. Now, the championship fight at the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto this past weekend was a grueling 5-round fight that has reshaped the landscape of the middleweight division. The belt has a new owner, Dricus du Plessis, who emerged as the triumphant new champion. However, even in the glow of victory, a shadow looms over his triumph: the formidable presence of Khamzat Chimaev. Du Plessis is acutely aware of this more than anyone else. And observing the new champion, one cannot help but sense a palpable fear of Chimaev in that demeanor. Recently, the new champion made it clear that he has no immediate plans to face off against Chimaev, expressing his lack of interest in such a fight, saying,
I don't want to fight contenders that doesn't make sense. You know, fighting Israel Adesanya makes sense. Fighting guys that deserve the title shots makes sense.
When you say contenders that don't make sense, do you mean fighters like Khamzat, who maybe haven't fought a middleweight ranks, because he's also tweeting like "see you soon" and referencing UFC 300?
Yeah, but he's at the John Jones, so I mean, who takes that guy seriously anyway?
Well, firstly, it's not entirely up to him to decide whom he will fight next. Now, of course, he can decline this fight and instead seek a matchup with Israel Adesanya, who has recently taken a break from MMA. Now, if you remember, they did clash after du Plessis' victory over Robert Whittaker last year and seemed poised for a showdown. However, fate did have other plans, leading to Strickland unexpectedly dethroning the last stylebender. To put it simply, if this fight could be arranged, it would undoubtedly be one of the biggest of the year, if not the biggest. But will that happen? Adesanya's decided to take a break, and we don't know if or when he's coming back. So, in my personal opinion, he's probably unlikely to make a return. Secondly, why doesn't it make sense to face Chimaev? Well, this is an intriguing bout that can be arranged at this very moment. However, the new champion has a myriad of appealing options at his disposal. He has already received a call-out from UFC light heavyweight title holder Alex Pereira, who has expressed his willingness to return to middleweight for a showdown with du Plessis. Shall we have one last middleweight showdown? Pereira posted on social media. Du Plessis responded by saying, "Let's do it. It would be an honor to share the cage with you." Additionally, Paulo Costa, currently ranked 6th in the middleweight division, has declared his intention to challenge du Plessis, saying,
"Give me him, Papa,"
he posted on social media. Now, in an effort to avoid a bout with Chimaev, du Plessis has even expressed his willingness to step into the Octagon with Conor McGregor. Du Plessis recently stated that he hopes for the chance to face off against McGregor, expressing that it would be an honor. Now, speaking of Sport Illustrated's Justin Barrasso ahead of UFC 297, du Plessis said, "I would love to fight Conor McGregor. I was a big fan of Conor and still am." Now, for du Plessis, fights against opponents like Conor McGregor and Alex Pereira are intriguing and appealing. However, that matchup with Chimaev is not of any interest to him. He understands that no one will let him and Conor fight. I mean, is Conor gonna make 185? And Pereira will not be returning to the middleweight division for a bout. Well, maybe if he wants to go for champ, but those aren't real fights. However, a bout with Chimaev, well, that is entirely feasible. Now, of course, Chimaev is keen to claim the championship belt as quickly as possible, but it is worth noting that he does lack experience in 5-round battles. His previous 3-round fights have shown that he may not always maintain optimal functionality towards the end of a longer contest. Cardio could be an issue. Now, nevertheless, it does appear that a Chimaev bout in the middleweight division could be that defining moment. Whether Du Plessis chooses to fight Chimaev or not, this matchup is going to be inevitable. Sooner or later, he will have to defend his throne against the formidable Chechen.
They promised me after this fight, after Usman fight, you will for sure gonna fight for the title, and I win that fight. And I don't know what's going on. I heard some Dana White said I don't think Khamzat for next for the title, and so that's the bullshit, man. So if you promise me something, you have to answer for your words, man. So I am the guy who I always answer for my words. If you give me a word, you have to answer for that. So I will be surprised if that happens. If somebody fight next, not me.
I'm very interested to see what happens next, though. I want to see if they try to turn him around for UFC 300 to maybe fight a Chimaev or maybe fight a Adesanya. Look, after that uncomfortable interaction inside the Octagon with Adesanya, I'm all in on that one. I know there are going to be a lot of people that go, why would Izzy deserve a championship opportunity? Well, sometimes it's about the story. And Izzy and Drake have a story that's already written. I'm also interested to see what happens to Sean Strickland now, as he tries to rebuild himself into a championship contender or a UFC champion once again.
Now, rapper Drake again lost a large amount of money on bets. The musician bet $700,000 on Sean Strickland's victory in the fight with Drake Du Plessis, with the odds being 1.97. Now, Drake's net winnings could have been $697,000, but the bet didn't work out. It is worth noting that there are superstitions surrounding Drake regarding his betting. Many people believe that whoever Drake bets on usually loses his matches. Now, while that is not always the case, it has happened on several occasions, leading to a concept called the Drake curse. One fan wrote, "We all knew Sean was doomed the moment Drake placed that bet." Another wrote, "He cursed it again." Another fan wrote, "Mind-boggling how bad his curse is. Can someone stop him from betting on MMA, please?" Or another, "I knew the curse would be in effect." But Sean Strickland has disclosed the true reason for his defeat against Du Plessis at UFC 297, saying, "Big thanks to everyone who supported me. Took a headbutt that split open my eye. Took a couple of rounds to adjust to the blood running in my eyes. Sucks to lose that way, but this is the game. I thought I won even not being able to see out of my left eye, but that's life. On to the next. Told you I'd bleed for you."
So I'm installing this air conditioner because I'm a cheap fuck, and the ladder's not long enough, so I need to make a decision. Do I get a new ladder, or do I just keep fucking going up? What do you do with all these fucking boxes? I hate taking a video. I gotta put this on the Instagram.
But to be honest, Strickland did have a great chance to stay on top. However, we saw a rather passive Strickland. Du Plessis was breathing heavily after the first round, yet Strickland did not attempt to capitalize on those clear advantages. He chose to maintain a rather steady pace throughout the fight, only delivering an explosive minute of action towards the very end. Therefore, it wasn't necessarily due to Drake's curse or maybe even the blood obstructing his vision. Strickland just simply found himself facing significant pressure for the first time in his career, which he didn't get along with.
Watching the highlights of the Sean Strickland and Du Plessis fight, I hope Sean gets sparked and conscious. There is no way I ever would have bet against Du Plessis losing this fight, considering he mauled Robert Whittaker. And Sean Strickland isn't half the fighter Robert Whittaker is. Just sloppy boxing. Look, swinging. Look at this. The fucking state of this. Zero technique, just slugging it out now. Oh my god, I feel like I'm watching two amateurs fight. Oh my god. Oh my dear Jesus Christ. If I ever have a fight like that, please tell me to retire. Yeah. There you go. Thank you, Sean Strickland. Now that fight's even more valuable.
This whole fight, when they sit there and they go back and forth about who won, who lost. I'm going to be honest. I had Strickland winning the fight. Yeah. Okay. Strickland had more volume. He threw more shots. He landed more shots. The jab was his most effective tool throughout. It absolutely did damage to the left side of Duplessis' face, which is, because Duplessis kept turning his head that way, but it's a volume count. I never saw Duplessis do something that I thought really hurt Sean.
A lot of people think that Sean Strickland won. I mean, it was a clear win for Duplessis. It's hard for me to find out what rounds Strickland really won. Sean Strickland, just all hands.
That is all for today. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel because it is very important to us. And thank you all in advance.